This is a talk on Abdu'l-bahá, the center of the covenant. The Ascension of Abdu'l-bahá. Abdu'l-bahá passed away on November the 28th in 1921 at the age of 78 in Haifa, Israel. He was the head of the Bahá'í faith for 29 years. On his passing, the British Secretary of State for the Colonies, Mr. Winston Churchill, telegraphed immediately to the High Commissioner for Palestine, Sir Herbert Samuel, instructing him to convey to the Bahá'í community and to the relatives of the late Sir Abdu'l-bahá Abbas Effendi, on behalf of His Majesty's government, his sincere sympathy in the loss of their revered leader. Abdu'l-bahá, during the First World War, was placed under restriction, again by the Turks, but his organizing of the planting and distributing of grain helped to reduce the effect of wartime famine in the Holy Land. It was for this that the British authorities knighted him after the war. Abdu'l-bahá had a plan for the believers. He did not abandon them to their own devices. In his will and testament, he gave the outline of a marvelous scheme of how to raise up institutions created by Baha'u'llah to govern society in his dispensation. Abdu'l-bahā's will and testament is described by Shoghi Effendi in God Passes By. The document establishing that order is the charter of a future world civilization, which may be regarded in some of its features as supplementary to no less weighty a book than the Kitab-i-Aqdas. It is signed and sealed by Abdu'l-bahá, entirely written with his own hand, its first section composed during one of the darkest periods of his incarceration in the prison fortress of Akka. It proclaims categorically and unequivocally the fundamental beliefs of the followers of the faith of Baha'u'llah. It reveals in unmistakable language the twofold character of the mission of the Bab. It discloses the full station of the author of the Bahá'í revelation. It asserts that all others are servants unto him and do his bidding. It stresses the importance of the Kitab-i-Aqdas. It establishes the institution of the guardianship as a hereditary office and outlines its essential functions. It provides the measures for the election of the International House of Justice. It defines its scope and sets forth its relationship to that institution. It prescribes the obligations and emphasizes the responsibilities of the hands of the cause of God. And it extols the virtues of the indestructible covenant established by Baha'u'llah. It lauds the courage and constancy of the supporters of Baha'u'llah's covenant. It expatiates on the sufferings endured by its appointed center. It recalls the infamous conduct of Mirza Yahya and his failure to heed the warnings of the Bab. It exposes in a series of indictments the perfidy and rebellion of Mirza Muhammad Ali and the complicity of his son Shua'ullah and his brother Mirza Badi'ullah. It reaffirms their excommunication and predicts the frustration of all of their hopes. It summons the Afnan, the Bab's kindred, the hands of the cause, and the entire company of the followers of Baha'u'llah to arise unitedly to propagate his faith, to disperse far and wide, and to labor tirelessly, and to follow the heroic example of the apostles of Jesus Christ. It warns them against the dangers of association with the covenant breakers, and it bids them shield the cause from the assaults of the insincere and the hypocrite, and it counsels them to demonstrate by their conduct the universality of the faith they have espoused, and vindicate its high principles. It reveals the significance and purpose of the hukukullah, the right of God, already instituted in the Kitab-i-Aqdas. It enjoins submission and fidelity towards all monarchs who are just. It expresses its longing for martyrdom and voices his prayers for the repentance as well as the forgiveness of his enemies. Now, dear friends, I am going to ask you to take a look back to the start of this presentation when I read what Mr. Bagliusi said about writing about the life of Abdu'l-bahá. On page 494 of that same book, Mr. Bagliusi wrote his conclusion, and I'd like to use it today. He said, "This book has attempted to tell the story of Abdu'l-bahá, but now we must go back to what was said at the beginning. No description can measure up to the theme of a life which transcended every barrier to its total fulfillment. It is beyond the range of assessment because every event in the life of the son of Baha'u'llah carries a major accent. Abdu'l-bahá was the mystery of God. Who then can portray him?" Thank you.